Need for Speed 2024 is coming. Obviously. I don't really want to sit here and say this is news because we kind of already knew that the next game was in development. Games start development on the next one pretty much as soon as the last one comes out. Efficiency, optimization. But why do they think that a new game is coming out? That's right, a job listing. Wow, who would have thought Criterion is looking for people to hire to help build the next game? Incredible. I can't believe it. Sarcasm aside, this is an exciting time, and it's a time where we really need to dig down into them, exactly what we want to see. This is a really pivotal moment to get your opinion across on what you didn't like, what you did like, and what you want to see. This is basically the time to get our organized feedback together. And make sure you stay tuned throughout the video to figure out how you can help. I have crafted a way that basically will give them the most help any developer could ever want. So, what do we know? The game is being developed by Codemasters Cheshire and Criterion. So we've got a couple of teams on board. Cheshire joined in a little bit later is what we heard. But the advantage this time is that they are there from the go. 100% of the way. And hopefully there's no bloody Battlefield game that gets in the way. Now, I'm sure like you, I have some questions that are on my mind about this game. First one being, are they going to keep the cartoon characters and the cartoon theme? Realistically, what they went for, and I think that the best, we've heard it described as anime, we've heard it described as cartoon, the best way to describe it is Spider-Verse. It's a Spider-Verse theme. Like, it only just kind of went into my head that they went for the Spider-Verse idea. If you look at the introduction of the Spider-Verse movie and the first one, and you look at the introduction of Need for Speed Unbound, they are so similar that it only popped into my mind when I rewatched Spider-Verse recently. But ultimately, do they bother you? I've got to say, the cartoon effects and stuff, I actually really grew to end up liking them. They definitely added an element to make it more exciting. Need for Speed, however, has always been much more exciting in terms of racing, I think, than pretty much any other racing game. But the added effects definitely make me feel like I'm flowing with the car. I think one problem with it is it doesn't really calculate in my head. What I would love to see is being able to tell what someone's doing by the effects going on. I'm pretty sure that was the idea, but it doesn't really come across to me. I need to see what my car is doing based on the car. Then I can imagine getting to the point where I could just turn off the HUD, which would be actually really cool. Now you might be saying, oh, no, absolutely not. What if the game was in Japan? That might change your mind a little bit. Ultimately, I think the characters are an issue. They didn't lean into it enough. I can't place our characters around outside the car in a photo or anything. The characters are pretty much just non-existent beyond the car. The car is the focus. So if you're not going to go full with the characters and let us, like, I don't know, pose in front of our cars and stuff, or go walk around a meetup, maybe just have normal characters. It would be fine with the cartoon effects and like normal characters, I think. Moving on to location. That's another query on my mind. What do you think they're going to do? Do you think they're going to stick with the America theme they've kind of kept forever? It would pretty safe bet to say that they were. However, as I said previously, maybe we'll get thrown into Japan. That would be pretty nice. Is it the right time to do it? I don't know. But of the locations of the United States that they haven't used yet, New York? It would be very similar to Unbound is the issue there. Also with the Heat, they went with Florida, and that really worked well. We've already been to California, and that's with Need for Speed 2015. That was in LA. We've been to Vegas and Need for Speed Payback. And if you think about it, we did actually assume at one point, based on the tower, that the Space Needle, so maybe we could see Seattle. That would actually be pretty cool. That's a good bet. But ultimately, we don't really know. But Seattle, I'm going to give you that Criterion. I mean, they probably already worked on the location. That's usually the first thing they do. So there's a future one for you in case it's not. In my opinion, this is the big one. Now, will the game even actually launch in 2024? And I think that's a very fair question. There's a few things to look at here. So the game could actually be Need for Speed 2025, which would give them an extra year, which they did seem to need last time. However, last time, they were building Battlefield at the same time, and they were building a studio. This time, they've got a base, they've got something to work on, they're kind of covered on all the bases. But the Xbox Game Studio chief says that games now take 4 to 6 years to make, and I have noticed games have got more expensive, more complicated, there's more to do, games take longer to build. Now, what I will say is that this is obviously based upon a game that doesn't have a foundation. Like, this is about Fable, based on the article. This is based on Starfield, massive games which are new IPs. Yeah, Test Drive, for example, has taken absolutely forever to build because it's a new IP. Iterations of don't take as long. That's why we assume that Forza Horizon is coming probably next year. Forza Motorsport was a ground-up game and it took a little bit longer. I think Need for Speed, now that it has a base, very likely that we'll get it in the next 2 to 3 years. Do I still have your attention? I did mention this is where you guys are about to come in. I want to hear everything you have to say on these topics. This is the deep dive. Cops. Now, I don't understand how cops can keep telling us all they want that cops are a pivotal part of Need for Speed and keep dropping the ball time and time again. I don't get it. It makes zero sense. This is your Nazi zombies, if you will. Oh, they changed it, didn't they? Sorry. Zombies. I don't get it. This should be oh my god, the cops are so much fun. And they got it right in Need for Speed Heat. I heard people raving about the cops that weren't usually even interested in racing games. It came at a perfect time when the height of the console sales. Of course, Unbound is the complete opposite. It became at the beginning of the console cycle, and maybe I think a year too early when people really were struggling to get consoles. But pivotal to the franchise, I don't get it. The pain points of Unbound, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the toppers. They split the single player and multiplayer, which means they had to rebuild a lot of tools, hence why we had to wait for the cops online. So my question is to you, Criterion, how do you still drop the ball on single player cops? The first major fix that needs to happen there is, why are the cops not tied to difficulty? I hear from both sides of the camp. You've got people saying, it's too difficult. And you've got people jumping over here saying, it's too easy. No matter what, no one's happy. So please, jump on it, get it sorted, tie them to the main difficulty. I don't get it. There's no excuse. Why? And multiplayer, I understand, but single player? What? Why is it not? New Game Plus. So, once again, they split single player and multiplayer, but for some reason, they decided to make the single player totally useless in every aspect beyond release, which makes no sense to me. I understand what the thought process of splitting them single player and multiplayer. In theory, you can do a lot more by doing that. But the problem is, you didn't. You didn't have the time, you didn't have the budget or something. And the next game, you're likely not going to have the time or the budget in this case. Maybe more time, but less budget. So how about maybe we realize that maybe it's a bad idea to split the single player and multiplayer in a few counts. I think merging the community into one central location really just added such a community feel. Every time you jumped in the game, there was people doing things, but also you could do your own thing. That was great. We're on new gen only now. You can bump up the players to 100 if you wanted to. Drop in, drop out. Do that, and then you can just keep the gameplay loop as one thing. It just makes so much more sense for Need for Speed, I think. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Did you prefer the split, or did you prefer the combined? I think in most cases, in every case, I preferred the combined. Was it Payback and Unbound versus 2015 and Heat? Which brings me to my biggest issue. I think we should just combine them together again. In my opinion, from my experience from playing the game, just put them together again. There's no reason why I can't do the link-ups while between missions in the game. Like locking down parts of the city, this high police activity in an area. It just makes sense. It gives it a more community feel, and that's the point of cars. I personally don't like really the competitive side of things. So cooperative suggestions outside, like it can influence and progress your story by just doing those, leveling you up or unlocking special cars that you wouldn't get by just doing the single player activities. A community feel is so pivotal to cars, and that's pretty much the holding it together at this point. Let me give you some actual reasons why. The split cars is so annoying. I don't get why I have to unlock the cars twice. The single player becomes useless after you beat the game. Where the hell's New Game Plus? What's the point? It keeps people together and interacting. And I've had some of the best interactions ever on The Crew, because you just drive to a location and there's people doing things and you can race around with them just for the hell of it and then drive away. Like, it's just great. I think speed lists is what should have been split. You jump in and it basically just throws you into a constant, continuous speed list. And every race you do, you get money, 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 and you jump out whenever you want. And maybe there's some special cars for being competitive, but I personally couldn't give a damn. Link ups is all I've done since the link ups came out, and that frustrates some competitive players. So really, just split up the competitive side. If I'm racing with friends, just let me do it in single player. If I couldn't care. Which brings you to the argument, okay, well, the main idea for single player splitting is because you can be a bit more in depth with the story, you can have loading, you don't have to have the session, like, you're not gonna have network issues, things like that. Well, Heat did it absolutely fine. If anything, the Heat story, the Heat campaign in general was better than Need for Speed Unbound. So that's my thoughts. I'd love to know yours, and that is where it brings us to the community poll. In the description down below, you'll find a link to my poll. This poll is going to be public information. I really just want to know where people side with things you want to see return, like drag races, things you want to see go away. I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to influence it. This is pivotal. This is the point in where we need to band together and tell Criterion, you need to do this and not this. This is perfect. What developer wouldn't want to see this? I bet they're going to love this. Or maybe hate me at the same time, because maybe they're like mid-development and they're like, yeah, it's out next year and you're a bit late. Either way, 2026, ladies. Thanks so much for watching. Smash like, subscribe, and check out this video here if you're into Need for Speed. It'll probably be Need for Speed.